All right, everybody, welcome to the Python meetup. Y'all have been here for 15, 20 minutes here waiting on all of us. If you want to go ahead and grab some pizza, if you haven't already, do that. There's drinks. Again, my name's Justin, and this is going to be a quick intro to Flask, quick website. So what is Flask? Flask is a micro framework written in Python. It's very highly extensible. There's an extension for just about anything you want to do, log in, back-end stuff with databases. There's even a extension for putting Raptor images on random pages at random times, which is just awesome, but I mean, who's ever going to use that? But it's there. You can easily create web APIs as well. So other Python frameworks that's out there is obviously Django's the biggest contender. There's Bottle, CherryPy, Pecan, Pyramid, and Web.py, and there's a plethora of I don't know how many millions or whatever. So why would I use Flask instead of something like Django that's already out there? First off, it's super easy to learn. You can get a quick, simple web app up in 8 or 10 lines, if that. It's very small, but it can easily handle very large extension apps. The documentation is really amazing, especially for all the extensions that's out there. There's always quick, how do I install this extension and use it, and it's always all the documentation is out there. It's written in Python, which is awesome. That's why we're all here, because of Python, right? It uses routes as decorators, which I'll show a couple examples of that, which is a little bit different from the way that Django handles routes. You only import what you need. So back to the whole micro framework, it's very small. It does include a bunch of stuff you don't need. So if you only need a web API, you don't need like logins and stuff like that. So none of that stuff's included unless you need it. All the Flask stuff is very Pythonic, as long as you write in Pythonic code. There's new plugins every day, which the Raptor plugin I just found out like 2 days ago. I think that's a newer plugin, but one of the really awesome plugins is Flask Migrate. Really awesome if you use SQL Alchemy for your database and migrations and stuff. So Flask versus Django, I've touched a little bit on this, but Django, it's got batteries included. Most everything's there that you need, which you can always add more stuff. It can be overkill for some projects. So again, if you only need a web API or 1 or 2 pages on a website that you need more functionality than like a static site, it can be overkill for a lot of those small projects. Like I said, it's got a lot of built-ins, which is the templating engine, the ORM, and the admin. It's got a little bit of a steeper learning curve. You have to move around to a bunch of more files in Django. Flask, you can start with a single page or a single file and expand as you need it. Again, you install what you need and only what you need. And it's very easy to learn. My development environment right now, which we can't see on the screen because of technical difficulties, but I'm running Xubuntu 14.04 and Python 2. Also, it's good to have virtualenv and pip installed for your managing packages and environments. And that's how you get started with a quick project structure. Create, a couple different. Got a static folder and a templates folder, a quick README for GitHub. And the main file we're going to use here is app.py. That's where all of our code's going to live right now, or most of it. And we're going to make that executable just with a chmod. Activate your virtual environment. Create and activate it.
If I may interject there, and people who use virtual environment might already know this, but if you do a double dash prompt on the command line, when you're creating it, you say prompt, single ticks, whatever you want to say, it'll pre-pin that to the command line. So if you have to work in 3 or 4 different projects that all have different virtual environments, you can see right on your command line which one you're activated in, make sure you're in the right directory, etc.
Cool. Good tip.
By default, it names it whatever the folder it's in.
I didn't think it named it anything.
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe wrong, but I thought so.
And I could just be so old school that, you know,
Well, and
I haven't
well,
upgraded pipe from virtual environment 1.7 or whatever. You know.
So that's how you install Flask. You just run a pip install Flask and dance. And that's the entirety of our first app right there. We're going to import Flask, create a Flask app context, and we're going to create 2 routes. We only really need 1 right now, but just we're going to go ahead and create 2 of them, which is the home directory and then index, because a lot of people use index. We're going to name our home function index, and we're going to spit out the words hello chawdev Python group, and then we're going to run the app. And I'll show you a little bit after the presentation actually what that'll look like on a different computer. But to run this, you just open your terminal, run app.py, and then open up localhost 5000.
So is there some magic that automatically links the index route to the index function method?
it's a deck.
Yeah, with the decorator.
Yeah, it's a decorator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the decorator will link to that function, I assume.
Yeah, so it does some magic in the background, but
You read it twice.
Yeah, I assume that since there's not another indent.
That context is stored in the app object. So when you call a decorator, it knows to, when it calls index, or when it sees a route with that, it's stored in the app object to call that function.
Sure.
And I'm not sure in Flask whether it stores the whole function as a, I don't know how it knows.
yeah, I don't know that either.
There's probably some
If it's
big
initial,
magic
yeah,
going on
who
there.
knows?
Yeah. So that's how you write a Flask app, and we're done. It was that easy. It wasn't very useful, but we did it. We're going to add another route just for more stuff. We're going to add /Python, and we're going to give it the function name as Python. And we're just going to return Python all the things, because that's what you should do. Now, returning text to a page isn't very useful, so we're going to turn some some HTML here, quick and simple, and then run localhost 5000 again, or open localhost 5000 again. One of the awesome things that comes with Flask is Jinja, which is a templating engine. Let you add, Python stuff into your HTML templates and make it better than just dynamic stuff. The syntax for pulling in variables from Flask is the double curly braces there, and then you just add in the name of the variable. And see there, we're making a
Function call?
function call for URL4. That's a built-in Flask function, and that's calling our index function that we used earlier in our Python and Flask one we created. So whenever you click on this, one of those links, it'll redirect to that specific function or route.
What about those curly and percentage? That's block content and block. That's
Yeah.
just regular.
Yep, I'll get that in just a second. Yep, there it is. So that's how you add syntax to your logic, or syntax logic to templates. So the block content, that is where you. So this is the index.html page, and we're extending the base.html page, which that's where you're going to have all your like page layout and stuff like that in it. So all your menus and all your stuff looks pretty, CSS and whatnot. And then the block content, that's where you post up stuff for the different pages. So this is the index. So what will be viewed there is Hello Chata Python user group. To go back over this, there's two different kinds of Jinja delimiters. The first one is used to execute statements such as for loops or assign values. The second one, which is the double curly braces, that prints out different variables and whatnot. So this example here, if we have a list of users and we want to print out each user, their username and their title, that's how you do that.
How does it handle if any of those are undefined?
It breaks.
It breaks.
Yeah, you have to
You have to clean it.
add logic to that. Yeah.
Does it throw you a trace mark? I guess it's.
It does. Yeah.
Depends on if you have debug mode.
Yeah. If you have debug mode enabled, then it will.
Otherwise, what, just looks a white page?
Yeah, just an error page. Or,
500,
yeah.
whatever your web server returns for.
yeah,
500.
absolutely. So here we've got dry templates, which is a very good thing to do. Don't repeat yourself, obviously. This is where macros comes into play. If you have a function that you use a lot in your templates, you can put that in a macros file and then call that function or that macro in the rest of your templates and stuff like that. So this one is for our menu system here, which is for our nav links. So we're going to update the app.py, and instead of returning HTML, we're going to actually render a template, and we have to import that Flask plugin. So we're going to call our index.html template there, and it'll be returned. And I'll show you again what that looks like here in a few minutes after the presentation. Some more Jinja awesomeness to just actually do more iterations and stuff like that. Add more logic to your templates. Just to show the whole thing. Yeah, so here we've got a list of extensions. The Flask extension, Jinja 2, Flask SQL Alchemy, and the rest of them. We're going to send all those variables, the one variable extensions, to our template. And then in the template, at the bottom of the page here, the example, if you can see the for loop there. So what that's going is for every extension in extensions, it's going to print that out there in a list. So let's have a little bit more fun. Let's play with GIFs. Add some images to the pages. The first thing we're going to do here, create an input form to search for different images. Pull an image from the Jiffy API with Python, send that image and form to the template, and then profit. So the first thing we're going to do is update. We're going to create a forms.py file, and that's going to tell Flask the different forms that we need, the different inputs and stuff. We're going to have a validator there that's going to make it required, so whenever you submit the form, it'll make it a required input. This is the code to pull in an image from Jiffy. Here's our route that we're going to create. It's called GIFs. The method we're going to attach to it is get and post. So there's our search form that we created in the forms.py file. And so where it says if form.validate on submit, whenever the first time this is ran, that you go to this page, that's not going to get ran because you're not actually submitting a form. So it'll pop down to where it says GIF equals static image to white, and then it'll return the template with our GIFs.html template, our GIF variable, and our form. So the second time you run this and you're actually searching for something, it will run through that if statement right there if it's validated. This is our GIFs HTML template. Again, we're extending the base HTML, throwing in block content, our form in block content, and at the bottom we are throwing the GIF to our page. Links, this source will be on GitHub. You can follow me on Twitter and go to the ChawDev meetup, ChawDev Python meetup page. These are a bunch of different, very awesome resources that I've used, and some of the awesome documentation that's out there. The Flask book, this one that I have, Flask Web Development, it's about the guy Miguel Greenberg. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his last name, but if you're into Flask stuff, this guy, you will hear his name a billion times. If you search for something, his name will pop up in at least the second position on Google. This is a really good book to check out. There's another one that just came out. I think it's Flask Codebook, and I haven't looked at it yet, but I hear really good stuff about it. Questions? Nope. Awesome.
Yeah, fun.
Yep. Fun stuff.